So in today's session, I'll give a brief on what we had done yesterday. সেইখিনি অলপ আমি চাই লওঁ. Then we will start with the new part. Okay. So part 18. Sorry, one sec. Yes. So part 18 of the Constitution, Article 352 to 360. মই কৈছিলো +4 কৰি দিব তেতিয়া আপোনালোকে তিনটা articles পাই যাব 352, 56, 60. What you have to remember is what kind of emergency it is. So national, সদায় national to first থাকে. President's rule বা state emergency second আছে and financial emergency third আছে. So 352 পৰা 360 লৈকে আছে. +4 কৰিলে আপোনালোকে গোটেইকেইটা আৰ্টিকেল পাই যাব ওকে বা 352 মনত থাকিলেও ফাৰ্ষ্ট টু 352 লাষ্ট টু আপোনালোকে মনত নিজে পেলাই ল'ব পাৰিব যে +4 দুবাৰ কৰি দিলে হ'ল ওকে now one important point here was that Constitution does not mention the word emergency in President's rule. Okay, baki kita karne directly emergency use hoy, but for President's rule, the term emergency is not used. Eto MCQ ahi jabo pare. Again, I have mentioned this in the last class. National emergency bikhoye ami eta first slide korisulu, and this was where we will start today. So quickly, a quick revision. National emergency President ketia national emergency declare koribo paribo. Etu ahibo pare je kune declare koribo pare. So they might put up the options as Parliament. They'll put the option as the CJI or the Prime Minister, Council of Ministers. The answer would be President. Okay, the President can only declare a national emergency. Ketia koribo paribo. These keywords you have to remember: security of India. Jetia, the security of India will be in danger. And what are the three terms that you have to remember? By war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Very extensively we have done yesterday. More just brief with Adisu. The other important thing is Presidente national emergency nuhuar agotu before the actual occurrence also he or she can declare. How and when? If he is satisfied that there is an imminent danger, if he is satisfied that war, external aggression, or armed rebellion, or 18 key points, jodi hobologiao ase, if he is satisfied, then definitely President can declare the emergency. Okay, very important. It can be the applicable part. Etu monot rakhibo gutei country to national emergency di dibo pare, nohoba okol eta part. All right. This is an important thing. Agote armed rebellion to internal disturbance bully kwa hoisile. Okay, very extensively I have explained yesterday, but now it is replaced by armed rebellion. Go back to the video if you have not understood, or if you are new today, then apnaloke ebar sai lobo. The last important point that we had done was the president requires a written recommendation. Very, very, very important. Written recommendation nohaleke president emergency proclaim koribo noare. Second kotha to hoise written recommendation to prime minister pra ahile nohobo ba single eta minister ba single eta member pra ahile nohobo. It has to come from the entire cabinet. So please remember, President can proclaim a national emergency only after receiving a written recommendation from the cabinet. Very, very important. Okay. All right. Today, let us start the remaining part of the emergency. We'll try to finish this, and thereafter we'll also cover a few. Okay, all these emergencies. Then we'll try to start the central government. Jodi noha, then of course we'll start tomorrow. Let's quickly look at the emergency. Yes. So, Junto proclamation pass hobo. Now this is the procedure. Emergency procedure to kisman statement important hoy. Directly apnar jodi statement to ifal olopo kori diye, then you will get the answer wrong. Okay. There are some terms that you have to keywords kita ako dhori lobo, right? The resolution which mane proclamation of emergency karne resolution mane juntu order ba juntu draft place kora hoy je emergency lagibo. Okay. Either by a member or by the minister, anyone, it has to be passed by either house with a special majority. See, this is the keyword. Special majority lagibo. Our special majority ame agote porisu. It is 50% of the total membership and plus kesila 2/3. A keyword ta mono rakhibo. 2/3 of the members present and voting. PNV. Okay, present and voting. So this apnaloke ekdom main so lage mono rakhibo lagibo because this is going to be used in many of the answers. Please remember. The second important point is a bostu to agore nasile. A clause to agore nasile, that this special majority clause was added in the 44th amendment. Now you can ask me why. Why was this added in the 44th amendment? So that tar agote kintu simple majority asile. Just so to make the process tough. Jetia ami special majority kotha ko, tetia monot rakhibo so that the special majority juntu beauty hoy, it is to make the process tough. Simple majority and only 50% of the entire membership was or present and voting had to give the consent. Kintu jetia ami special majority boli koi diu, tetia by default the entire process becomes tough. So that the emergency junto ama clause ase ba article ase jate misuse nohok. যদি সিম্পল হৈ গল হয় তেতিয়া যিকোনো কথাতে ঘনাই ঘনাই এটা emergency declare হৈ গল হয়. So in order to reduce that, which was happening in that particular time, 1975 1978 ত emergency লৈ পেলাই বহুত বেছি controversies হৈছিলে under the reign of Indira Gandhi. Okay, that we will read in the main scores, of course. Prelims কাৰণে তেনেকে নালাগে, but remember that this provision was only added by the 44th amendment 1978. মনত ৰাখিব ইন্দিৰা গান্ধী যোনটো tenure আছিলে, যদি আপোনালোকৰ মনত থাকে তেতিয়া emergency related যদি কিবা amendment হৈছে তাতে হৈছে. So directly you can link. Okay. When was Indira Gandhi's tenure? It was around 1975 96 76 78 tar pisot olok kedinman till Rajiv Gandhi when he came into power in 85 after Indira Gandhi's death. Hetu time ot junkin amendment hoisile that mostly amendment khinit constitution kon touch koribo noarake ba jate bahut simply jate amend hoi na jay, everything, all that part was done during that duration only. Okay, so the first and foremost important point of today's concept regarding emergency is emergency has to be passed by each house of the parliament by a special majority. Please remember, special majority pass hobo ketia add hoisile in 44th amendment act of 1978. Okay, jodi approve hol e tenure monot rakhibo. Okay, tenure to monot rakhibo, it will continue only for 6 months. Okay, and then etu time monot rakhibo, indefinite period. Okay, indefinite period, but what does it require? It requires an approval of the parliament for every 6 months. Indefinite period mane 6 months kori pela it can be continued for 3 years, 4 years, 10 years also. Okay, hopefully obviously himan jate beya situation amar country ketiao nohok, but in case jodi teneba hoi gol hoy, then how would it have been approved? Jodi first ami approval pai golu hoy tetia 6 months, the emergency continues for 6 months. After that jodi koy, then you have to remember this word indefinite period. Indefinite period. Or indefinite period মানে এনেকুৱা নহয় যে 6 টাইম এবাৰ 6 মান্থছৰ কাৰণে প্ৰক্লেম কৰি দিলে তাৰ পিছত আৰু 3-4 ইয়াৰ্ছ লৈকে চলি থাকিব. No, every 6 months it will be reviewed whether the emergency is required or not required. Okay, again 6 months episode. For example today is it is February. Okay, yaar 6 months episode February, March, April, May, June, July, August suppose আজি February এটা যদি emergency declare কৰি গল, আকৌ August expire হব, but expire হোৱা আগতে it will be approved. এবাৰ তাৰ review চোৱা হব যে required হে या नहीं है. যদি required হয়, then it will again continue for the next 6 months, again 6 months, again 6 months. That might go for indefinitely, কিন্তু হে approval to বা হে validity to only 6 months হয়. Okay, a statement to apnaloke bhalke sai lobo. Okay, it might be very simple, but exam ot twist kori dibo. Exam ot kori dibo, it continues for 6 months and does not require approval of parliament after that. But no, the parliament will always require to approve it. Approval to lagiboy. But first 6 months hobo, then again 6 months and 6 months. Prothom 6 months to it will be continuous. Then it will be a break of 6 months junto ami, but for a very indefinite period. Okay, 6 months ke teneke bosor poti jabo pare if the president deems fit je etiao amak emergency lagibo boli. Okay, so this is an important point you have to remember. Etialeke ami duta important point pohisu. First, special majority. Okay, and the second is that 6 months or karne emergency to continue kore. Very important. Next important point is it has to be approved. Jetia emergency amar etu iman important hoy, my bad, etu iman important hoy, but you should keep a note of it. Etu just eta etu point hoy, etu point that within 1 month of the issue of heri jetia proclamation hoy that approve hobo lage. Etu iman important hoy, but I've just added so that reading eta thodi boru. Okay, next important point is this one. Etia hoy gol revocation mane emergency to khatam koratu. Emergency khatam keneke hobo? Proclamation of emergency may be revoked by the president. Remember this very key point. At any point, any time or any point of time, at any time. Enekon hoy je 6 months karone wait koribo paribo. Jodi aji right now today if the president suppose aji eta emergency declare kori dile, enekon nohoy je 6 months karone continue hoboi lagibo. At any point of time, jodi next day bhabe je it does not require, India does not require any emergency, the president has the power to revoke it. But where will the this one মানে revocation to keneke hobo? Where will the proclamation be revoked? হেতু এটা আৰু প্ৰক্লেমেশন লাগিব which will require parliamentary approval হেতু মনত ৰাখিব সো এনেকুৱা নহয় যে president can act on its own proclamation ko lekin revoke কৰিব পাৰিব এনেকুৱা নহয় যে 6 months এবাৰ যদি দি দিলে তেতিয়া হলে revocation কৰিব নোৱাৰিব এনেকুৱা কথা নহয় of course the president can revoke at any time but revoke কৰিবলৈ যোনটো proclamation দিব that will also require a parliamentary approval but there is a catch here now this is one of the most important points এইটো আপোনাৰ next key point বুলি ধৰক যোনটো approval কাৰণে আমাৰ যেটো লাগিছিলে special majority but in case of revocation we do not require special majority okay we do not require special majority we only require a simple majority okay jot neki amar this one continuance to approval to amar both houses of the parliament have to be passed see must be a word keyword la thobo etu miss korisulu but again must be passed okay by either house of the parliament but revocation but junto amar disapproval lage hetur only that can be by lok sabha only what is the key point here yate concept to etu hoy proclamation start korai stuff but khatam karna is easy got it proclamation start kora because you know when a country will be under emergency je emergency declare kori dile tetia he country khonot bahut khini powers and you will see the effects those are phenomenally disastrous it's not a good time it means that the country is under stress so j stress start hole of course to consider that stress requires emergency or not he decision making process to tough kora hoise kintu je emergency di dile emergency to uthai dia kam to kintu it has been made simple so that you know like I said eta beya bostu hek koribole jate hunkale hoy I think you are getting the gist here that resolution of disapproval is way easier than the resolution of approval okay resolution mane juntu order yate juntu ami etu je pass korisilu here is the mane juntu amar koisile resolution approve koribole it has to be passed by either house of the parliament and must be duita house both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha they have to approve it okay and to, by what by a special majority but in case of revocable or in case of disapproval that can be introduced only in the passed only in the Lok Sabha aru by a simple majority only ekita points key points hoy monot rakhile hol second kotha to hoise that this one it can be revoked at any time by the president and it does not require parliamentary approval or did I say requires parliamentary approval I hope I have not mentioned that mo float kiba bhabi asu but koisul beleg jen lagile anyway so it does not require parliamentary approval okay see the revocation ka process is easier the process to revoke it is way easier than the process to start it okay another important thing is national emergency এনেকুৱা নহয় যে national emergency দি দিলে and the emergency cannot be questioned the grounds cannot be questioned okay এটা ইয়াৰ আগৰ লেকে till 1980s এটা constitutional দিয়া আছিল যে national emergency তাৰ যিকোনো পইণ্টত judicial review নহয় I hope you remember judicial review in article number 13 that যে national emergency দি দিলে it is correct তাৰ পিছত কোনো চ্যালেঞ্জ কৰিব নোৱাৰে এনেকুৱা আছিল আগতে কথাটো but by Minerva Mills case you have to remember this okay by the Minerva Mills case national emergency is no longer immune to judicial review that means enekwa nohoy je national etu statement apnalok exam change koribo pare national emergency cannot be challenged by judicial review national emergency is not under the purview of judicial review okay enekwa thono statements jodi die meaning to etu je national emergency jodi apply kori dile ba aji pra jodi national emergency start hoy gol it does not mean that the grounds on which national emergency was declared cannot be challenged in the court of law okay enekwa nohoy je national emergency die dile and if someone thinks je junkhini grounds on national emergency declare hoisile those are not right if tenekwa jodi eta kabar feeling ahile gut feeling he then it's not like that you cannot challenge national emergency kintu agote enekwa asile agote national emergency diar pisot you cannot question the legislature বা executive যে national emergency to ভুল হিসাবত দিয়া হৈছে but এটা কব পাৰিব so he বস্তুটা মনত ৰাখিব nothing is above the constitution he কাৰণে কোৱা হয় even national emergency jot India is in stress extreme stress jot war aggression ba internal rebellion armed rebellion nisna eta kotha ahi jay then also in that scenario also enekwa nohoy je jodi national emergency di die then also you can or the judiciary can question that is the independence of judiciary okay so these were the key points apnaloke monot rakhibo resolution to kune pass korise okay, proclamation to finally kune declare korise. Acha, this also you can remember, okay, see these are keywords. Declaration to president e korise, pass kintu or approval to kune koribo, parliament e koribo. Eblak ekdom be very careful with these words, okay. Approval disapproval is by the parliament, but declaration is by the president. Tar mane ki hoy, junkhon draft or emergency bikhoy likha thakile tate seal and sign, that declaration will always be in the president's hand. Okay, please remember এইবিলাক words very clearly থাকিব যাতে আপোনালোকে confuse হৈ নাযায়. Okay, very small words ifal ifal কৰি দিব and the answer will go wrong. And APSC nowadays it's challenging, so please make sure that you understand these words. Or not just for APSC, in order to secure a good mark in polity, you should understand these underlying concepts. Otherwise statement to sobe পঢ়ি দিয়ে and মনত নাথাকে, answer to যে wrong হয় because of this. The understanding that the words are very beautifully designed and jot must be, may be, hebla words olop hifal hifal hoy gole je answer to wrong ho jay, that requires utmost conceptual clarity. Okay, more conceptual clarity na lage, because words ifal ifal hoy gole it happens. Okay, so polity, make sure that don't read it like a story, read it like a challenge je every word or key significance huma ase, then you will get the idea. Let's move on to the next je amar kiman bar emergency hoise. Basically 1962, these were all warlike situations. 1975 was a controversial emergency যোনটো বিষয়ে আমি definitely মেইনছত cover কৰো. তেতিয়া ইন্দিৰা গান্ধীয়ে যোনটো proclamation দিছিলে হেতু verbally দিয়া হৈছিলে without the consent of the cabinet, etc, etc. So we'll not go into the details for now. After prelims, of course, যেতিয়া আমাৰ এনেকুৱা course ওলাব যদি, তেতিয়া we'll cover all those facts and figures. Okay, right now you just remember that it has been proclaimed thrice. So national emergency কথা কৈ আছো ha, this is national emergency, it has been proclaimed thrice. Effects of national emergency, executive or legislative, financial, যোনটো মই কৈছিলো এইখিনি আপোনালোকে এটা general reading দিব পাৰে. ইয়াত যোনটো সবতকে বেছি important হয়, that is this, effects on fundamental rights. National emergency সবতকে ডাঙৰ problem to কি হয়, that they affect the fundamental right. And which articles describe it? Article 58 and 59. 358 and 359, they describe the effect of national emergency. As it is, apnaloke monot rakhile hol. Car effect hoy basically fundamental rights. Okay, how they will be affected? Because of suspension. Suspension means as soon as, now listen to this very, very carefully, as soon as a national emergency is declared or made, the fundamental rights, okay, under article number 16 and a word to monot rakhibo, they are automatically suspended. Etia etu general word eta nohoy. What is automatically suspended? No special order will be out for declaring the suspension. J national emergency aji start hoy gol ei muhurtote 19 article 19 of all the Indian citizens, they are suspended. By suspended mane, as of now our article 19 does not exist. We don't have the freedom of speech, we don't have the freedom of movement, we don't have the freedom of residence, nothing. Article 19 of June sota asile sub clause jonkita ase 19 A B C D E F, he gutekhini amar suspend hoy jay. Okay, now this is the concept where you will understand je kyo national emergency dia hoy. National emergency enekota situation ot dia hoy jot we or Indians have to hold together for peace and juntu amar existing war and aggression like situation ahi ase ta combat koribole, ta against peace lagibo. So what do we do? Eta kotha koi je বেছি কাজিয়া জুনে বেছি কাজিয়া যেতিয়া লাগি থাকে, এটা পাৰ্টি যদি মনে মনে হৈ যায়, তেতিয়া কি হয়, কাজিয়াটো বন্ধ হৈ যায় for the time being, right? So when in such a scenario, it is যেনেকে আজিকালি দিনত social media, let's say we have a war like situation with Pakistan. If freedom of speech thake, then definitely there will be hate comments, there will be hate speech, then the Muslim minority might be attacked. Okay, এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিছুমান situation দেখা গৈছিলে. So in that scenario কি হয়, just so that তেতিয়া টাইমতো social media নাছিলে, but then also they saw this threat, right? So in that scenario, আজি দিনতটো this threat is even more, right? This threat is even more that এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ যদি কিবা situation আহি যায়, freedom of speech to হেকানে কাঢ়ি লোৱা হয়, freedom of speech to কাঢ়ি লোৱা হয়, so that hate speech বা hate comments বা তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কোনো এটা situation arise নহয়. Okay, within India jata at least law and order to maintain rakhibo pari in a situation where war is evident. Then it is also important যে movement, residence, এইবিলাকত আপোনাৰ ধৰি লওক for safety and security purpose, যোনকেইটাই যদি আপোনালোকে 19 আৰ্টিকেল 19 ৰ যদি আপোনালোকৰ হেৰি এটা মনত আছে সাব ক্লজ কেইটা মনত আছে দেন আই থিংক দিস উইল বি ইজিয়াৰ ফৰ ইউ টু আন্ডাৰষ্টেণ্ড যাৰ নাই প্লিজ গো বেক এণ্ড চেক যে কোনকেইটা আৰ্টিকেলছ আছে ইউ উইল আন্ডাৰষ্টেণ্ড যে পিচ এণ্ড শান্তিৰ কাৰণে সেইকেইটা পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান টেৰিটৰীৰ ভিতৰত যাতে কোনো ধৰণৰ হেভক আৰু ক্ৰিয়েট নহওক okay for that also those particular rights are suspended and yet main junto amar etu concept kito exam ot nahe but this is for your understanding what is important is automatically suspended okay you have to remember this word kuno beleg dhonor order nulai all right this is very much important and this one is important ইয়াতে কি কৈছে just 19 article 19 যেহেতু restrictions বিলাক আমাৰ impose কৰা হয় so the particular state মানে the country it can make any laws on the বা any এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ any rule বা regulation বনাই দিব পাৰে which can take away the six fundamental rights guaranteed under article 19 আৰু এটো মনত ৰাখিব যে হেইকিটা আপোনালোকে court of law challenge কৰিব নোৱাৰে writs issue কৰিব নোৱাৰে okay writs issue কৰিব নোৱাৰে so in exams one question directly comes which article is suspended or which fundamental right is suspended under the action of emergency national emergency the answer will be article 19 okay does the state have rights to restrict impose restrictions yes the state has the right to make any law or any executive action okay সেই six fundamental rights লৈ যাবলৈ বা বন্ধ কৰিবলৈ suspend কৰি দিবলৈ the state will have the right second কথাটো হৈছে does it require an extra order the answer is no no separate order is required for the suspension please remember this very carefully though no separate order is required for the suspension okay the last key point is as soon as the national emergency finishes or ceases khatam jun dinakhon hek hol hednakhon automatically it comes into force again no order is required okay I hope this is very clear etu direct question ahibo para prelims the statement based questions from emergency are very critical ইয়াৰ পৰা সৰু সৰু বস্তুবিলাক বনাই দিয়ে and then students get confused যে order লাগিব পাৰে না নালাগিব পাৰে তো remember this automatically a word to আপোনালোকে the constitutional court নুহুনে it's only under article 19 that the article 19 freedom of speech and right freedom basically right to freedom it gets suspended automatically or j শেষ হৈ গল national emergency whenever it finishes whenever it ceases to operate automatically আকৌ revive হৈ যায় automatically it will come into force okay this is important মনত ৰাখিব the president cannot now this is the last key important article of national emergency je right to life and personal liberty right to education right against detention okay a duta please go and read article 20 and 21 a duta kintu suspend koribo nware kuno pointhe article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended okay right to life as we know it will always be there right against detention arrest into article 20 koy hetu ase okay you can go back and check the articles both of these guarantees amar logot jate na insafi nohoy okay right to speech jodi apnar logo kono dui din kobole nidiye that is fine but right to life apnar hek koribo nware right to liberty they cannot finish right against arrest jodi arbitrary arrest koi diye apnar logo just because you are walking on the wrong side if they arrest you and if you cannot challenge it in court then that will be a big problem just because it is emergency apnaloke bole you cannot drink water from another space tenekwa dhorono jodi eta liberty jodi rokhai die then that will be a problem hekhini kintu kunu pointhe kunu inhuman boli koa jay so that nobody can restrict in the indian by the indian constitution okay so I hope you are very clear also eta bostu hudibo pare mostly the question agote huda hoisile muk ebar je what kind of laws can be challenged ইয়াতো এটো কৈ দিছে যে আমাৰ ষ্টেটে যদি বনাই দিয়ে কিছুমান ল যোনটো ফান্ডামেন্টাল ৰাইটে আমাৰ পৰা লৈ যায় দেন হেখিনি কোৱেশ্চন কৰিব নোৱাৰে বাট what about the other laws so other laws which are from which মানে ধৰি লওক emergency related নহয় হেখিনি লগত ইয়াত একো connection নাই so only those laws which are related to emergency are protected okay not other laws so you can keep this into mind difference between article 358 and 359 general reading eta dibo means concept opar lage basically these two articles ei gutekhini bostu 358 and 359 ota likha ase so kuntu article ot ki likha ase that you can check a very general ene basically tanake nuhude but article 358 and 359 ot ki ase hetu monot rakhibo okay those basically talk about describe the effect of emergency on fundamental rights. Okay, 358 কি কৰে এই তিনটা পইণ্ট কিন্তু ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট হয়। 358 ফাণ্ডামেণ্টেল ৰাইটছৰ ছাছপেনশ্যনৰ কথা কয় আৰ্টিকল 19ত, আৰু 359 কয় যে কি ছাছপেণ্ড কৰিব নোৱাৰি আদাৰ ৰাইটছ। অ'কে, 20 and 21 যে ছাছপেণ্ড কৰিব নোৱাৰি সেই বস্তুটো তেনেকৈ তাতে লিখা আছে। চ' এই দুটা বস্তু পঢ়িব পাৰে, বা তাৰ বাহিৰে ডিফাৰেঞ্চেছ ইউ কেন গিভ ইট এ জেনেৰেল ৰিডিং, তেনেকৈ বৰ বিশেষ এক্সামত নাহে। Some messages are here. Is 21, yeah, 20, 21A, 21A, they are included there. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the next emergency, which is the President's Rule 356, Article number 356, the most exploited article, which was supposed to be a dead nail, but then this was the most exploited one. Constitution makers, although they were one of the most genius people, but they could not guess that এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ এটা মিছইউজ এটা হ'ব পাৰে যোনটো আমি আজি দিনত দেখো। 356 আৰ্টিকল 356ৰ একচুৱেলি ভাবা গৈছিলে যে এইটোতো এনেও ইমান ইট উইল বি লাইক এ ডেড নেইল, বাট আল্টিমেটলি দিছ ইজ দ্য most used I would say emergency in the country as of now. অসমতে চাৰিবাৰ ইউজ হৈছে প্ৰেচিডেণ্টছ ৰুল। চ' প্ৰেচিডেণ্টছ ৰুলৰ কি ৱৰ্ডটো হৈছে ফেইলিয়াৰ অফ কনষ্টিটিউচনেল machinery. Please remember this. Center takes over the government of state. Okay, now by this state they mean the units ase. Okay, the northeastern states but the rest of the states. Okay, center takes away the government. See very carefully. Government mane the legislature juntu. Government basically called a head of the government and PM, head of the state will be the CM. So the center as a whole nullifies ba gote government khone take over koile. Okay, and when is the situation a bostuto monot rakhibo failure of constitutional machinery, and this definition is not given in the constitution properly. As a result ji kuno meaning under state machinery koi dia hoy jay eta constitution fail hoy gol, now the president's rule will be active. That is why it is the most exploited article or the most exploited emergency post independence or post the formulation of the constitution. Anyway, we will not go into the controversies, but let's quickly check যে 356 কোন গ্ৰাউণ্ডছত কোন দুটা গ্ৰাউণ্ডত proclamation can be given. Okay, ইয়াতে আপনি simple কৰিলে হ'ল, it's the same thing. First though, if the president is satisfied, okay, if the president is satisfied that এনেকুৱা এটা situation হৈ গৈছে য'ত state খনে এই বস্তুটো যোনটো য'ত state খনৰ constitutional বা আমাৰ constitutional motive actions বিলাক লোৱা হোৱা নাই, basically state machinery fail হৈছে, the government of state cannot be carried in the provisions of the constitution. Okay, this is important. So the president will directly act. Jodi governor report kore then hobo pare, nohole president directly action lobo pare. Okay, you can make a note of this. This is important that article 356 it empowers the president to issue a proclamation if he is satisfied that the government of this particular state it is not in accordance with the constitution. This is important. Same constitution machinery ekata meaning ho. Article 365 ot dia hoise prothom proclamation or juntu grounds ase eta article 356 ot dia hoise yar ulta toy koi dibo 365. So remember this, both these articles they tell you about president's rule. Okay, 356 aur tare ulta to 365. 365 e koy jodi there was a direction, there was an order or there was something given from the center e koisile eneke eneke koribo lage. Okay, but state e he kamtu nokore. Now this is the point jot exploitation to hoy center e kiba dhoroner eneka ta direction disile but state is not doing enough in order to follow that. All right, so article number 365 says that center of the direction ahisile but then the state fails to comply. Okay, and in that situation also the president can declare that the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. Okay, so in a scenario article 356 and 356 thought simply koise that the president can issue a proclamation. Etu monot rakhibo 356 or keyword to hoise it empowers. Okay, empowers the president to issue a proclamation. Our 365 e koise jodi eta direction, this is the keyword, eta direction dia hoise center opra. Okay, and then the state fails to comply. These are the keywords. So I hope this is clear. In short, it is always the failure of constitutional machinery. In Assam, president's rule four times hoise the same word state emergency kok ba constitutional emergency boli ko pare, although those words are not explained or named in the constitution itself. Okay, etu monot rakhibo. So it was four times: 79, 81, 82, 1990. I think ebla apnalokor gome pai this is the time of Assam Accord. Obviously background to iman nuhude exam, just the year you should remember. But for your understanding you can go and read the year. Okay, mane story to apnaloke pohibo pare, but teneke exam nahe for prelims. Okay. In like we did for the this one amar ki asle for the national emergency, similarly ami president's rule oru sam keneke heri hoy amar jot niki tat one yate I'll show you. It's a comparative analysis aru jeneke yat within 1 month dibol asile tate 2 months lage. Proclamation imposing president's rule, it must be approved by both the houses. Again, both the houses. Okay, remember this within 2 months. Etu iman nuhude, but this is more important. Both the house should be passed. Again, similar to the national emergency, continues for 6 months. Similarly, it can be revoked by the president at any time, just like national emergency. Eke concept hai. Such a proclamation does not require any parliamentary approval. Then this is important. Okay, this is important. President jodi amar lok sabha jetia suppose he particular state ot president's rule go ase choli ase jeneke recently 𝐏𝐿 choli ase, right? So let's say this kind of particular president's rule is undergone gone or amar ohomot choli ase. At that point of time যদি লোকসভা এনেকুৱা এটা ৰেজুলেশ্যন পাছ কৰি দিয়ে যে তাত আৰু প্ৰেসিডেন্টছ ৰুল নালাগে, তেতিয়া president has to revoke. Okay, president has to revoke the proclamation. Okay, so please remember the president must revoke a clause to কিন্তু আমাৰ national emergency নাছিলে. Okay, the president must revoke a proclamation if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution disapproving its continuation. Okay, these are the consequences of president rule. Again general reading hoy teneke bahut beshi nahe eblagor question ki koribo pare koribo nware, tat khali eta bostu monot rakhile hol that state government is taken up by the central government, hetu to hoy aru president mostly yet he actually means the president basically junkini power governor hatot asile ekhini kam by default president can start to do. And যোনখিনি state legislature powers asile hekhini sob parliament hatot ahi jay, everything you just have to tate formula to etu hoy powers or jodi apna statement or etu sabo powers khini jate state or pora union or fale goi ase na nai, just a formula to sabo. In the statement jodi koi die declares that the powers of state legislatures will be exercised by the parliament by the state legislature itself, no, jikono dhonor power hobo pare, anything will be going back to the union. Okay, jodi koi dia that governor or any other state legislature can still take their own decisions, but no, hetu statement to bhul hobo. Okay, next comes comparing national emergency president's rule eta general reading di dibo, mostly mains or karne khuda jay, prelims or karne even if they ask you they'll ask you only the important components junkhini ami porisu aur tar bahiye junkhini extra ase you can go and give it a read, but general reading. But ei khini apnaloke pura word by word mukhosto hoi thakibo lagibo ketia apnar kuntu hausor para heri lagibo approval lagibo, simple majority quote ase, special majority quote ase, these have to be ekdom remembered by heart because yate apnalokor mostly khilimeli khini kori dibo. Okay, the last emergency is financial emergency. Yar pra questions bahut kom ahe, but still whatever I have placed on the screen ekhini to important hoy. Effects like I said eta general reading dibo pare teneke question mo ajileke dekha nai. The most important question that is given is the article, mostly article hude, and also financial emergency to definitely financial stability hoy jodi threaten kore tetia hobo. So these are very obvious kotha aru yate apnar bahut common sense di apni answer koribo paribo. Similar to the proclamations of state this one national emergency, again it can be revoked at any time and it does not require parliamentary approval. Okay, revocation is always simpler monot rakhibo, and once approved এই দুটা বস্তু অলপ আপোনাৰ different হয় financial emergency কাৰণে, য'ত it will again continuously be it will continue, the financial emergency will also be continued till it is not revoked. Okay, it will continue. So এটা constitution কথা আছে যে financial emergency কিমান period লৈকে operation থাকিব বা চলি থাকিব সেই maximum period টো আমাৰ দিয়া নাই. It can be for 6 months, 11 months, 12 months. যোনটো আমাৰ বাকিখিনি কাৰণে আছে সেই বস্তুটো ফাইনেন্সিয়েল এমাৰ্জেন্সি কাৰণে নাই. Why? Because ফাইনেন্সিয়েল এমাৰ্জেন্সিত কোনো আমাৰ war বা তাত ধৰি লওক আমাৰ হেড স্পীচ তেনেকুৱা স্পীচৰ কথাই নাহে. Right? Finance is related to money. যেতিয়ালৈকে পইচাৰ অৱস্থাটো ভাল নহয়, যেতিয়ালৈকে আৰ্থিক অৱস্থা ভাল নহয়, তেতিয়ালৈকে এমাৰ্জেন্সি হৈ থাকিব. It's by default. If a person is poor today, he'll be poor today till the time he is not getting ample money to get the হেতুত মানে কোনো ধৰণৰ এক্সটাৰ্নাল ফেক্টৰ তাত মেটাৰ নকৰে, কোনো ধৰণৰ ফাণ্ডামেণ্টেল ৰাইটছৰ কথা নাহে, কোনো ধৰণৰ লেটছ সে সিকিউৰিটি থ্ৰেটৰ কথা নাহে. ৰাইট? আল্টিমেটলি ইফ দ্য কাণ্ট্ৰি ইজ আণ্ডাৰ ষ্ট্ৰেছ, ইট ইজ আণ্ডাৰ ষ্ট্ৰেছ, আৰু যেতিয়ালৈকে ষ্ট্ৰেছটো আঁতৰি নাযায় তেতিয়ালৈকে ফাইনেন্সিয়েল এমাৰ্জেন্সি থাকিবই. অ'কে? এই ৰিপিটেড পাৰ্লিমেণ্টাৰী এপ্ৰুভেল ইজ নট ৰিকুৱাৰ্ড. কিয় নালাগে? বিকজ ফাইনেন্স, obviously the numbers will always tell. If the emergency is there, which means that finance amar thik hua nai, mane thik hua nai aru jetialeke thik nohoy tetialeke it will continue. So ei bostut apnaloke etut key point hoy, you can keep a note of this. Okay? A resolution approving the proclamation of financial emergency can be passed by either only by simple, again juntu amar parliamentary approval in case of state ba ADR. দেৱজিৎ তালুকদাৰ, আপুনি এই পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ এইটো টপিকলৈকে এতিয়া কুৱেশ্যনছবিলাক সুধিব. ADR আৰু APS ৰিলেটেড কুৱেশ্যনছবিলাকৰ মেইনছৰ ৰিলেটেড কুৱেশ্যনছবিলাক নালাগে. অ'কে? ইট উইল ডিষ্টাৰ্ব দ্য ক্লাছ আ বিট, চ' কাইণ্ডলি কোঅপাৰেট. অ'কে? ADR-ত তেনেকৈ নেলাগে এতিয়া, আই মিন গ্ল'বেলাইজেশ্যন হওক বা যিয়ে হওক. I will not entertain questions related to ADR right now. Okay? Anyway, so the resolution approving the proclamation of financial emergency can be passed by either house of the parliament only by a simple majority. Juntu amar in case of national and state emergency, that was a special majority. Again, what is the reason? Because financial emergency is of ultimate, jete amar dekhot jodi paisa na thake tat ami process to tough kora nai. Right? If it's an emergency, it has to be declared right now. And although ajileke amar kono dhona financial emergency hua nai, covid or time almost it was decided that financial emergency declare kora hobo, but then atmanirbharta and specific packages like that hekhini amar financial emergency declare koribo logia nohol. But ei duta point apnaloke monot rakhibo, jot niki national emergency ba tenekwa dhonor emergency amar hoday parliamentary approval tough kora hoy, kintu yat in case of financial emergency it is made a bit simpler. Okay? Effects of financial emergency are a general reading dibo. I don't think teneke exam ot ahe, only required for mains purpose. So all in total, I hope you are getting the idea যে emergency কেনেকে পঢ়িব লাগে. Statements বিলাক বহুত important হয় ইয়াত, and make sure that facts বহুত কম আছে ইয়াত, mostly statements বিলাকে আছে, like both the houses, single house, Lok Sabha approval ক'ত লাগে, ক'ত simple majority, ক'ত special majority, those kinds of things you have to take care of. Okay, apart from that, the remaining points are not very tough. All right. So let's quickly move on to the central government portion to a president. যোনখিনি আমাৰ starting point হয়, president, then prime minister, vice president, সেইখিনি part আমি আজি start দিম. And this is also one of the parts যোনখিনি maximum factual হয়. Okay? ইয়াতে অলপমান stress হয় because যেনেকৈ আমি হেৰিখিনি conceptually অলপ মনত ৰাখিব পাৰোঁ, but from this point of time again there are few facts that you have to remember as it is. Okay? So let us check. Anyway, I'll go back to the slides. Devojit Talukdar, apuni kindly kobo kontu point buji poa nai. Okay? Anyway, yeah. So central government or part 2 apnaloke monot rakhibo. Etia we had done till part 4. Okay? Now let me give you a brief on this thing. Part 4 loike it was DPSP. Part 4A it talked about the duties যে আমাৰ citizens duty থাকে. I think we have already done this in the previous class, but I'll still repeat যে যোনটো আমাৰ part 1 হয়, part 1 is about the Indian territory, Indian state or definition দিছে যে ইণ্ডিয়া আমি কাক কম. Okay? Part 2 defines যে ইণ্ডিয়াত থকা মানুহখিনি মানে citizenship হেতু কোনে পাব, কেনেকে পাব, কোন হয়, কি হয়. Part 3 is hey citizens খিনি অধিকাৰ কি হয়. Okay? Fundamental rights. Part 4 কিছুমান আমাৰ গভৰ্ণমেণ্টক ডিৰেক্টিভ দিয়া গৈছে, কিছুমান আধাৰ দিয়া গৈছে যে on these grounds আপোনালোকে the government তেহেঁতি আমাৰ স্কিমছ বনাব বা ৱেলফেয়াৰৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ কাম কৰিব পাৰ্ট 3 যোনটো ফাণ্ডামেণ্টেল ৰাইটছ দোজ আৰ বেচিকেলি দি পলিটিকেল ৰাইটছ অফ দি citizens কিন্তু পাৰ্ট 4 যোনটো হয় সেইটো আমাৰ সোশিও ইকোনমিক ৰাইটছ হয় আমাৰ সোশিয়েল এণ্ড ইকোনমিক পাৰ্সপেক্টিভত গভৰ্নমেণ্টে কিবা যদি ল বা কিবা যদি চেঞ্জেছ আনে তাৰ গ্ৰাউণ্ডছখিনি আমাৰ ডিপিএছপিত মানে ডিৰেক্টিভ প্ৰিন্সিপলছত দিয়া আছে পাৰ্ট 4A যদিও পিছত এড হৈছিলে ইট টেলছ আছ দি চিটিজেনছে অধিকাৰ যদি আছে কিছুমান নিজৰ দায়িত্বও থাকিব চ' সেই ডিউটিছখিনি আছে চ' টিল হিয়াৰ ইটছ এ ষ্টৰী পাৰ্ট 5ৰ পৰা গভৰ্নমেণ্টে যে আমাৰ ডিপিএছপি যে হ'ল আগতে কেনেকুৱা আছিলে কণ্টিনিউছ আছিলে ন পাৰ্ট 4ৰ পৰা পিছতে পাৰ্ট 5 আছিলে যে গভৰ্নমেণ্টে তেহেঁতক নিৰ্ধাৰিত কৰি দিয়া হৈছে যে এইখিনি মতে আপোনালোকে বা এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিছুমান কি পইণ্টছ আছে এইখিনিকে ফ'কাছত ৰাখি পেলাই সদায় ডিপিএছ মানে যিকোনো ল বা লেজিছলেশ্যন কৰিব পাৰ্ট 5ৰ পৰা সেই গভৰ্নমেণ্টৰ ডেফিনেশ্যনটো ষ্টাৰ্ট হয় okay it is a beautifully designed constitution again I have been telling you কোনো এটা বস্তু random নহয় ইয়াত part 5 or পৰা government or description to আছে in part 5 the union executive is there part 5 or union executive আছে আৰু part 6 or state or খিনি আছে okay যদি আমাৰটো federal feature আছে both center and both the state they are there both the center and the state features are there so central part to amar part 5 ot dia hoise aur state part to amar part 6 ot dia hoise okay so kindly etu monot rakhibo and in this scenario kyo monot rakhibo koisu because ei articles kini monot rakhibole apnalokor নহলে অলপ দিগদাৰ হৈ যাব যদি part 4 and 6 5 and 6 to খেলিমেল লাগি থাকে part 5 or 52 78 এইটা লাইক আই সেড অলপ মুখস্থ কৰিব লাগিব উপায় নাই অলপ ৰিভিজন কৰিব লাগিব পাৰ্ট 5 or under 52 পৰা article 68 লৈকে আছে because last 51 লৈকে আমাৰ ডিপিএছপি আছিলে 51A was fundamental duties আৰু 52 পৰা 2 পৰা 78 লৈকে we have the union executive it is important okay yaar article based questions yaar pra olop important hoy ahi jay jeneke amar heri pra ahe fundamental rights pra ahe after that ekhini pra olop ahe dpsp mo keta man article list koi thwa ase ekhini olop lagibo pare okay all right so article 52 pra 68 or bhitor 52 article itself jonto amar 52 article ase that in itself is the president article 52 a president article to hoy etu monot rakhibo okay union executive bulile ami kak kom very important this is a point jot maximum students a mistake kore union executive buli kole it is the president remember the president is part of the union executive the vice president okay the pm the COM the council of ministers and the attorney general of India that is also a member of the union executive article number 76 okay please remember ekta ami bare bare koi thakim mo koi thakim bare bare apnaloke at least revision to hua koi 52 is article this article represents the president itself okay 76 is attorney general etu monot rakhibo please remember very important baki kita article eman note etu ta article apnalok maximum hudibo bahute bhaibo attorney general is not the part of the executive but the attorney general is a part of the union executive teneke advocate general is a part of the state executive jonto ami pisot ke kotha patim okay now what is the executive what is the legislature ekhini ami korim but for now just remember 52 to 78 this is a part of the union executive okay part 5 or part 5 aru kisman articles ase part 5 or 52 পৰা 78 is union executive tar pisot parliament part khini ase all right so enekwa nohoy je exhaustive hoy all of conceptual hoy but definitely you will get the idea ek din man jetia ami class to koi thakim then keep a note je executive legislature ekta beleg hoy mathat olop mane pura strictly etu demarcation ta koi thobo right now we are talking of the executive okay definition I'll tell you first understand this time or definition to kohabo now president or bikhoye let us start first president is the head of the Indian state monot rakhibo okay he or she is the head of the Indian state prime minister is the head of the government etu ekdom statement to khilimil nokoribo head of the government buli kole it's always the prime minister is also a part of the union executive president is the head of the Indian state the first citizen right acts as the symbol of unity integrity solidarity of the nation very important statement president is the symbol of unity integrity solidarity of the nation okay second hoise ইয়াৰ মাজত আৰু কিছুমান বস্তু আছে লক্ষ্মীকান্ত ডেফিনেটলি ইউ কেন গিভ ইট এ ৰিড বাট নট দ্যাট ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট ফ্ৰম প্ৰিলিমছ পইণ্ট অফ ভিউ মই জাষ্ট ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট পইণ্টকেইটা লিখিছোঁ ইয়াতে ইলেকশ্যন অফ প্ৰেচিডেণ্ট ইজ এন ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট টপিক অ'কে ইয়াতে আপোনালোকৰ এইখিনি আছে কোনে কোনে ইলেক্টৰেল কলাজ বুলি কোৱা যোনটো এটা কনচেপ্ট থাকে যে যোনটো প্ৰেচিডেণ্টক যোনটো গ্ৰুপ দ্য গ্ৰুপ উইচ উইল ইলেক্ট দি প্ৰেচিডেণ্ট দেট ইজ কল্ড দি ইলেক্টৰেল কলাজ আৰু কোন কোন মেম্বাৰ্ছ তাত আছে তাত ইলেক্টেড মেম্বাৰ্ছ থাকে হাউচ অফ পাৰ্লিয়ামেণ্ট মানে MP members of parliament okay both lok sabha and rajya sabha legislative assemblies of the states mane amar jonkhini MLA okay legislative assemblies MLA elected members of the legislative assemblies of UT of Delhi and Pondicherry okay hekhinit now the thing is the nominated members of both the houses nominated members of the legislative councils, nominated members of the legislative assemblies of Delhi, etc. A bilage ketio participate nokore. Nominated members, they do not participate. This is a direct question that comes. Election of president only elected members bilage correct. Kyo? Because these nominated members, they are nominated by the president itself. So definitely, যদি president nominate কৰে তেন্তে definitely the president কে vote কৰিব so they are not considered ইহঁতৰ vote খিনি biased vote বুলি consider কৰা হয় and they will not be considered in the electoral college only the elected members now the question is elected members মানে এইখিনি elected members are the elected representatives by the people যোনখিনি আমি নিজে ইলেক্ট কৰো ফ্ৰম দি লোকসভাৰ আৰু ৰাজ্যসভাৰ যোনখিনি এক্সট্ৰা অফ কোৰ্স থাকে সেইখিনি আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি ইলেক্ট নকৰো ইনডাইৰেক্ট ইলেকশ্যন হয় বাট আলটিমেটলি দে ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেটিভস অফ দি পিপল okay so the idea is election of president or ami okol elected members bilage rakhu so this is the keyword aru hekhini apnaloke kun tinta point ase yate give it a read you will remember nominated members ase ne nai so president or karne first article itself hetu important hoy 52 article is important because that talks about the definition of president itself president is the head of Indian state etu monot rakhibo because head of government is prime minister first citizen hoy what does the position of president refer to it refers to symbol of unity integrity and solidarity election of president this is the next topic hetut general reading eta dibo apnaloke books ba NCERT jote thake but most important point is only elected members they participate are nominated members will participate korane no because they are nominated by the president itself so the election may stand biased in case jodi by chance election to hoy okay okay the next part is president's election okay what is the method to apnalokor directly teneke he mathematical method to of course nahe you can check various YouTube ba tate maribo pare keneke president election to hoy it's a digolia procedure junto ami discuss nokoru from mains point of view important hoy but you can also check so that apnaloke abar buji pawo pare yate moi kintu hetu discuss nokoru just to shorten so president election or junto method hoy he method to naam to monot rakhibo it's called proportional representation okay mane the number of votes basically jonkini votes president e pabo every vote it's kind of a score so boke eta score dia hoy MP vote MLA vote blago score eta dia hoy so he proportion jehetu eta fixed ase hetu karone koa hoise je proportional representation not he method to kora hoy again yar junto elaborate method hoy yata ami discuss nokoru you can go and check in YouTube বহুত in depth videos khini ase already jot apnalokor ta dia hoise je proportional representation of president election at kene calculation to hoy okay that is given there the next concept is single transferable vote mane there's one person one vote and that cannot be mane eta transfer dibo pare hetu apnal again hetu method thake you can go and check iman in depth na lage but consider the keywords okay proportional representation hoy by single transferable vote okay STV the single transferable vote aru secret ballot hoy it's not an open ballot it's a secret ballot so secret ballot gom paise that jeneke ami cheats likhi lagote monitors bilagok ba class president choose koru teneka dhoronote single secret ballot hoy single transferable vote and proportional representation okay ekhini apnaloke jodi in depth analysis lage then you can go and check the YouTube tate hei pabo it's not a very tough thing but still jehetu amar mains or karone ba prelims or karone not so required so we are skipping that part even mains or etu mostly nohude anyway these are the qualifications of the president which you have to remember ekhini apunar as this question ahibo pare joa bosor vice president o teneke ahise aru tat kyo question ahise mo koisu he should be a citizen of India okay the president, he or she should be a citizen of India. Hetu sobe jane. A age to apna ahibo pare. Okay, 35 years of age to complete koribo laga hobo pare. So most of you are not eligible for being a president. Hetu monot rakhibo. I'm definitely sure maximum bilag manu yate they are not eligible. That way you can remember. The third point is very important. He should be qualified. Okay, qualified for elections as a member of the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha member. Yate jodi apna Rajya Sabha likhi diye, then the answer will go wrong. That you have to consider. Okay, the president should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. Yate statement kebata bun jaba pare. The president should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. But the president should be qualified as a member of the state legislatures. But of the Rajya Sabha only. Okay, so you have to remember that he should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. Mane Lok Sabha member junkhini eligibility ase, hekhini he should qualify. Hekhini the candidate for president should qualify. Hekhini apnaloke goi pela jeta Lok Sabha sabo, then we will check. Okay, but otherwise just remember in shortcut je president should be qualified. Kunkhini tak qualifications lagibo, but tekerok as a he or she, both of them they should have a qualification for becoming the member of a Lok Sabha. Okay, the last important point is he should not hold any office of profit. Office of profit mane jate aru eta salaried government ba aru eta government job hok ba private job hok, they should not have. The definition of office of profit is not given in the constitution tanege. Okay, under the union government or tolot hobo nalagibo, state government or tolot hobo nalagibo, local authority, any public authority noare ji kunu jaga they cannot, the candidate cannot hold an office of profit. Please remember this. A sitting president or vice president of the union, the governor of any state, and a minister of the union or any state is not deemed to hold any office of profit and hence qualified as a presidential candidate. Ya mane ki hol, sitting president mane junjon already hoy ase ba vice president of the union, ইহঁতৰ যোনটো ক্যান্ডিডেটৰ হয়, ইহঁতৰ যোনটো অফিসটো হয় হেতু অফিস অফ প্ৰফিট বুলি ধৰা নাযায়। ওকে, ইহঁতৰ অফিসটো অফিস অফ প্ৰফিট বুলি ধৰা নাযায়। সো they can definitely as a governor also they can be a presidential candidate. I hope you can understand here that any office of profit থাকিব নোৱাৰে। কোট থাকিব নোৱাৰে যদি থাকি গভৰ্নমেন্ট জব কৰে, ষ্টেটৰ আন্ডাৰত বা ইউনিয়নৰ আন্ডাৰত, লোকাল অথৰিটি বা পাব্লিক অথৰিটি যিকোনো আন্ডাৰত যদি জব কৰে, then those particular jobs have to be left first. Okay, only then can the president's candidature will be considered. Kintu jodi already tekhet a sitting president mane junjon already hoy ase, if that is a scenario, ba vice president hoy ba governor hoy ba minister of union hoy, state hoy, jun kunu union or minister hobo pare ba state or minister hobo pare, they are not considered as office of profit. Okay, I hope I'm clear here. Yate apnar main important point to etu hoise. Okay, A statement hoise proportional election, proportional representation, single transferable vote, and voting is by secret ballot. Okay, ekhini hoy. This is an important topic, oath or affirmation by the president, and oath and affirmation or karne moi in fact president or ekhini bisot junkhini articles ase kaile ami listing eta korim, but for now oath to apnaloke monot rakhibo this particular topic, bakhini apnaloke general reading dibo pare. This one is very very important because sobore oath beleg beleg ase, but these few terms are only for the president. Preserve, protect and defend the constitution and the law, monot rakhibo. The president in itself has to defend the constitution. Hekarne any action of the president, ami statement to pohisilu je he is a symbol of the unity, integrity and solidarity of the nation. Now I hope you understand, because the president whenever they take position, the oath is to preserve, protect and defend the constitution. Etu likha thake. This is a very important one. Oath to kune diye, that is important, the CJI. Okay, jodi CJI na thake, then the most judge of the Supreme Court tekhete dibo. Okay, these are important things. Any other person acting as president, jodi pisot ke president acting president hoy, for example in the absence of the president, but discharging functions mane president nothoka time jodi president nisina kaam koribo loy, then also a oath and affirmation to loboi lagibo. These oaths and affirmation have to be taken by the person, even if he is an acting president or even if he is discharging the functions as the president. Okay, so what is important here? Oaths to kune administer kore? CJI. দিছ ইজ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট দেই এই অ'থখিনি আপোনালোকে ভাইচ প্ৰেচিডেণ্টৰ বেলেগকৈ পঢ়িব লাগিব প্ৰেচিডেণ্টৰ বেলেগকৈ পঢ়িব লাগিব সুপ্ৰিম কোৰ্টৰ বেলেগকৈ পঢ়িব লাগিব ইউ উইল চি দিছ বাই এণ্ড এগেইন আহি থাকিব কোনে কাক অ'থটো দিবলৈ দিয়ে এডমিনিষ্টাৰ মানে গাই যাব তেখেতে ফ'ল' কৰিব গম পাইছে ন অ'থ লোৱাটো দেখিছে চাগে চামৱান হেজ টু কল ইট আউট কোনোবাই গাই যায় সেই মানুহজনে তাৰপিছত ফ'ল' কৰি যায় চ' দেট ইজ কল্ড এডমিনিষ্ট্ৰেশ্যন চ' দেট ইজ এডমিনিষ্টাৰ্ড বাই দি CJI ফৰ দি প্ৰেচিডেণ্ট অ'কে oath of the office of the president that is administered by the CJI কোনে দিয়ে the senior most judge supreme court okay যদি sorry CJI যদি CJI absent থাকে কোনে দিয়ে senior most judge of the supreme court second কথাটো হৈছে this is important okay to preserve protect and defend the constitution of the law and the law এটো আমাৰ প্ৰেসিডেন্টৰ কাম থাকে okay so I think that is all for today আপোনালোকে if you have any doubts I'll open the session for a few minutes